Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your intrepid host, Mr. David Null, and I always wish to greet you with blessings and honor and respect to each one of you. And someone asked me, and I'll spit it out. Quartz Quantum had a very good comment and asked a question on a previous video of mine. And I thought to myself, I put out a little paragraph or something. And as I'm writing it, doing my morning meditation, it's 12:30 here Eastern Daylight Time. Thank goodness we're going to go back to regular time here. Oh, of course, in my little area down here, I haven't changed my clock still. It's in the background there. It's 11:30 in my time. But the question was, what are your thoughts on that we are all one? And in my contemplation, as I'm still sitting here and thinking, well, what does that mean that we are one? That we are one being, that we are of one thought, that we are of one creation. What does being of the one actually mean? And different people, because of different religions and things, as I have been pondering this since I've made my remark to Quartz Quantum, and I find that it's actually a very good question to ask. What is the one? Is it just you and me? Is it are we one with God? Are we one with Source? Are we one with the universe? Does it mean that we are that we have a hive mind type of thing going on here? And what does being a part of the one, or what is the one? I'm a single person. I'm a single individual. I'm a single isbe. I'm a single spiritual being. But yes, I am part of the one, of the collective. Now, I've been doing the last few days. Now, I've been researching it all along, but in my wishing to speak more correctly and succinctly with the discussions that I have, I don't like to mouth off stuff that I might use the wrong terminology or something. And I wish to give you the absolute truth as far and as much as I can find. So I'm looking into quantum theory, the universe, quantum. And the quantum is basically that it's just really, really, really small. And I was surprised that I found out that it's almost 200 years ago that they started discussing the quantum in physics and in science. Now, I knew it went back for a ways, and I knew Albert Einstein and them had discussed it, and that's around the turn of the century, 1898, 99, into the early 1900s. But it seems like in the real world, with people having discussions of things, the quantum computers and the quantum this and that people don't really understand, and the folks who talk about the quantum don't really understand it either. That's why it's a theory. However, I think that there are many things within the quantum theory that help to explain why and how we are part of the one. So I can say, well, spiritually, can't you just feel it when you meditate? Don't you feel that you're part of something bigger? Okay. Is that part of the one? Well, what's that got to do with it? Well, I feel alive and I feel a part of nature. And I feel, and Christians will say, or other people, but, I feel the love of Jesus coming into me. Or I feel, the angels, or I feel this energy, and they want to quantify it, quantum. They want to qualify it. And which is fine, because that's what I do too. It's like, okay, where's this mess coming from? Feels good. My heart feels good. My energy level's up. Why would I complain about this? But at the same time, well, is this God energy? Is this creator? Is this something that I should go to the doctor over and maybe take a pill so they can control this behavior of mine? Because for some reason, I'm getting this really good energy from somewhere and nobody can qualify it or quantify it to me. So therefore, and if I speak about it, oh my God, oh my goodness, maybe we should send you to a head shrink so they can shrink your head, I've been kind of having nightmares of psychiatric stuff that they've done to me and the results that I've seen of what they've done to other people. It, creepy. I had a video about that, but that's not about this. I think that what some of these doctors, especially psychiatrists, I do not think that any of them have any intention of healing anyone. I just don't. For some reason, now psychology is totally different than psychiatry. I have met some very wonderful people who have helped me and their job as a psychologist. So there is a distinction there, okay? And psychologists have to go to psychiatrists to give meds out. Well, I truly think that psychologists should just stay away from the meds. That's another thing. But I bring that up because I think in the long run, some of these people, because what they're doing is barbaric, they're trying to disconnect us from each other and from the source and from the quantum, that oneness that we all share. Okay, Dave, what is it? Well, I have to go into my Hawkeye mode, into the shaman realm, to try to explain what this one or oneness maybe is. Because when you look at it from only a 3D perspective, there's, and I mean this with respect to everyone, unless you go into the spiritual realm, you'll never understand what the one is. You'll never truly understand exactly what the quantum means. And that's why I think Nikola Tesla, in his later years, would just smile at people because he had an internal understanding. And they talk science all around him. But you see, he had a spiritualness about his understanding of the quantum, of what he realized, of what he understood. And other people wouldn't go there. And I had another discussion in another video about that. I believe that there is a new degree of science that needs to be learned, developed, thought of, or presented or something, because people who have gone to college to get their PhDs in physics have been taught to think inside a box. And the box that they have is called academia. And academia has taught them to think in a particular pattern. And it's difficult for these people to think beyond it. Nikola Tesla and others, they had no box to think out of. They had no constraints with their thoughts. And there are some people who are like, that is a difficult thing to consider. So I hear all these very intelligent people, and I respect them highly for what they know. I do. But they're missing a key puzzle piece in their understanding of the universe. And it includes them going into a shaman, religious, altered thought process, if you will, from what they are taught in this 3D reality. So therefore, it is a different science to them. Now, to spiritualists and empaths and folks, we kind of learn, and here with the internet in these last few years, we're having these discussions among ourselves, which is, it helps me, it's helped other people to be able to go, now that's an interesting thought. Oh, gee whiz. That's an interesting thought. All right. And it helps maybe to clarify things. I mean, you all out there make me one of, I am so humbled by the fact that I can have a discussion that might help you just see things in a different light. It's maybe I clear something up. Maybe I touch upon something that's been confusing. That's why I'm having this conversation. What do we mean if we are part of the one? Now, a lot of people would automatically want to say, oh, that means that we are of a hive mind. Now, we've got to be careful with that, because a hive mind suggests that there is a queen bee, or, the leader of the thought. It's true up to a point, except that we have free will, as really do bumblebees. I mean, when the bee leaves the hive, he can fly. She can, they can fly anywhere they please. The queen does not control them in that respect. Now, I say this because I studied beekeeping and so forth, and in the town of the county seat of the county seat here in Colquitt County is Moultrie, and outside of Moultrie is one of a very few apiaries, which means that they raise bees and sell them across the world. They sell hives and things. So, I'm aware of this stuff. I can't tell you all the ins and outs. I used to, but I have forgotten more than I can remember. But to the point, though, I'm very understanding of bees and the nature and that type of thing. I've studied them. I've watched them. In fact, I didn't cut some weeds down, because guess what? Bumblebees are still feeding off the nectar off of these fall flowers that have bloomed. They're weeds, but they're flowers too. So anyway, but with this hive mind, now it is that we are all connected, and we're all connected, whether it's, if you think hive mind or not. And and people will try to, well, no, it's not really there. And no, it's not this. But guess what? That's why they have quantum computers, because they can access things it's so fast, they can't time it, because it's so close to being instantaneous. And it's ESP. Well, I had that thought. Well, so did I. And before you can explain, it takes you long to, well, we both had the same thought at the same time, but we're in different locations. And and more of us, I've talked about me and my granny back in the 60s and 70s before she passed away. And that, I'd call her up and she'd be dialing the phone, back in the day when they had dial phones. And which kids today don't even know how to operate those things. It's really strange. So they'll try to push the buttons. It's interesting. So the one, Buddha talks about it. Christ talked about it as being in heaven with the Father, because he understood that trying to explain some kind of etherical fourth or fifth or sixth dimension kind of thought process, and he spoke of angels and things and stuff and, manifesting, but to the point, he had to give it a father. It could have been mother, but at the time there was more interest in the paternal lines of things, as in King David, as in blah blah blah, as in Solomon. They weren't following the traditions of the matriarchal line of people. They weren't looking at whose wife it was. They were looking at the kings. Now, one could say that, well, King David, Solomon, let's get this straight. If he's all good and all this stuff, then why'd they call him the king? So already you have a control in the framework of this religion because, well, he's the king. Well, he was a benevolent king. You mean he never did anything to piss anybody off? Ever? Never? You mean he gave up his riches, and every poor person in his kingdom had money and had equal wealth? Is that true? You don't read about that. You don't hear about it. It's like, what about? Oh, but he was king and he was benevolent and he was this and that and he was fair and okay, but what? All right. Now, I'm sure that there are writings and stuff about that. Why do I say that? Because it sets up a hive mind kind of thinking. It sets up that we must pass all our thoughts and all our feelings through someone or something. It's got to come up like a pyramid. The energy has to go pyramidal and then go through a something in order to get to wherever it's going. I mean, and even with the evil lion on the back of the dollar bill, pyramid, eye at the top, and all our energy is going up the pyramid. Lots of information about pyramids and them being used for healing devices and things. So I'm not trying to suggest that pyramids are bad. I'm suggesting that they're trying to channel our energy to an apex, to a single point, to a one. Now they're suggesting that there is a one in their God realm. Well, if you're trying to think out of the box, burn the box, toss the box out, and think there is no box, because I need to even think beyond those parameters. And then we start talking about the source. It is a consciousness, a universal consciousness that every one of us is plugged into. That is the one. We are all spiritual beings. If you take the Bible or whatever, and I'm just going to stick with the Christian side of this thing for a little bit. And that more people understand the Christian religion than they do the Buddhist religion or something like that. But Buddha practiced the same thing. He was like, when you can feel nature, and I've had these discussions and probably need to have some more. When you sit and you meditate with a tree and you allow yourself to become your energy with part of the tree, you are becoming part of the one that we are all attached to. We are, whether we wish to believe it or not, we still are. Our awareness of it has nothing to do with the fact that it still exists, period. Whether we wish to understand it, whether we wish to accept it, has no bearing on the fact that it still exists. We can close our eyes and put on blindfolds, but the sun still comes up and goes down. And the earth is still rotating or something. If you believe in the flat earth, then we're inside a snow globe, and we weren't supposed to have cloudy weather and rains today. That front was supposed to go through. I don't know where this rain came from this morning, but always thankful for rain. Thank you. But there are those who would like to try to put a God into this, and it's not a God. It's a collective source thought. What is source? It's the source of all energy. It is creation. It is destruction. But the destruction comes more with the intent to create. Now, creator, and it wasn't a big bang. Sorry, y'all. Anything that would be that traumatic on the universe, creator wouldn't do such a thing. If in the Bible it says it took 7 days or 6 days and on the seventh he rested, then think of those in millennia or billions, trillions of years that it took days. Okay. So this Big Bang theory, I've never thought that it was correct. Did things sort of create from a central location or are speeding around in all directions? Well, they're giving it their best shot because they're trying to explain why would we try to figure out where the beginning of the universe is when they don't wish to even consider that there is source? There is this, quote, invisible to the naked eye to most people in this 3D reality, there is something other than what we can visibly see. So now with all their instruments and everything, we can see in the infrared, we can see all these different fluctuations in in different chemicals and different properties on different planets. You know the drill. So they have, and they've got sensitive instruments that we just absolutely don't know about. And the reason I say this is because I knew the quantum thought had been around for a while, but I didn't realize that it was almost 200 years old. I mean, like 180 years ago, they did these things, seriously. Like it was 1838 or something, and we're in 2018. So yeah, 180 years ago, they were having these thoughts and understood that particles were vibrating in different frequencies, and that different lights and different colors. I mean, all these things were being discussed almost 200 years ago. So now these folks that have been working in, I say, secret, aren't letting the rest of us know what's going on. In order for them to understand the quantum at all, they must reach with their own thoughts and mind into a different realm, because the quanta or the quantum exists in a realm we cannot see with our physical eyes. It's there because otherwise they wouldn't have quantum computers. Okay. And they have to be kept very cold. They have to be kept in a particular state of being. All right. Seriously. Check into it. I mean, it's really creepy. And that one guy, Jordy or something or whatever it is, he's spoken about it several times. And he says, when you stand next to the thing, it's like you feel like you're in the presence of a god. What? Well, these machines, and I don't know, the ones that I've seen, they're not really that big. It's the cooling device that's so big. It's not the device itself. Now, why would a person who was been involved with the development of these things all along make a statement about that they feel like they're in the presence of a god? Because the source is in the quantum. The quantum is part of the source. It's not exactly the source, but tied, it's like, it's right there. It's a very important part of source, this quantum that they're trying to discuss. This etheric plane, which is not necessarily a plane of reality. You can get on different planes of reality or a timeline, and everything looks okay here. But if you understand that you could be on a different plane of reality, even while this is in existence, and jump over a notch and see a totally different story. And that's hard for people to understand. I've understood about this since I had a super duper vision in 1970. And it's just holding true even to this day. The movie Above Majestic with David Wilcox, Corey Good, and all these other folks in there. It's not just about them. Okay. I had to listen to it because I had to find out what was going on. And I didn't hear any talk of any Spear being alliance or blue chickens. So it's like, well, that's good. But the rest of the information has been stated by a lot of other people. And in that, I recognized that Corey Good was being a spokesperson. And I was glad that they, stuck to the main topics, if you will. But lots of other people in there. William Tompkins, I think, who has passed away now. I think there was references to Bob Dean, who passed away here within the last few weeks. We are all sad for his wife and family. And but these people, I mean, Bob was in his 80s or early 90s, and folks are like, oh, somebody bumped him off. No, Bob was at the end. He was at the end of his journey, and he knew it, he understood it, he accepted it, but we can still miss him. But he's on the other side looking back, and he went to the other side to help us through this, our time. Now, to be a part of the one, whether you wish to accept it or not, you're already a part of it. It's the acceptance of such that is it's the religion, it's the Buddhist, it's the Buddha, it's the Christ consciousness, more so than religion. But they push religion more than they push Christ consciousness. I mean, I listened to 3 different pastors over the last 2 days, and every one of them had their nose stuck in the Old Testament. Well, the prophecy's coming true. Look, pay attention. If you read into Revelations right now at all, I mean, there are people who have not had clinical Bible study, if you will, and can read through the Revelations at the end of the Bible and go, oh my God, we're here. This is it, guys. Duh. But these folks keep going back. Well, the prophecy won't come true, and Christ isn't coming until everything that Daniel said came true. What if we're on a different timeline? I'm just asking. What if we're on a different timeline? What if everything Daniel said doesn't come true, but only 80% of it's already here and is in the works? Well, what about Solomon? Well, this can't be true because Solomon's temple. Well, this can't be true because Daniel said, hang in there. What if the timelines change? These people have changed the King James Version. There are multiple versions of the King James Version that really don't look anything like what King James original version was or is. Check it out. I've had these discussions. So, I bring this up because they're trying to change your reality through your prayer book. And it says in Revelations, he who changes the word of God shall be written out of the tree of life forever. So these people who've been monkeying around with our spiritualness, they're trying to keep us out of the one. Again, in Revelations, and I've done videos on this, but I'll just state here that in chapter 18 and then again in 19, I think, when John meets the angel, John bows down and tries to worship him. And the first thing the angel says is, get up, you are as I am, meaning we are all angels. So even in the Christian religion, every time does the angel said, bow down and worship me? No, he says, get up. You are my brother. Now, if it was a woman, it would be sister, but to the point, we are all one in this. We are all angelic beings, whether we wish to accept it or not. That's part of this. Well, I can't believe it, and hey, look, to atheist folks, I get it. I don't worship a God either. And I'm not going into a building and bow down and worship a God either. But I am a very spiritual individual, and it has nothing to do with gods. But it does have to do with the eternal source energy that, look into the universe and tell me it ain't been around a while. Just look up at the stars and understand what's out there. Get you a pair of binoculars, get you, go to someone who's got a nice telescope. There are amateur astronomers out there, and contact one of them. They'll be more than happy to let you come, as long as you respect them, to look through their telescope and to share what they can see with someone else who's interested. Oh my God. But to the point though, when you look into the universe yourself with a telescope, without, NASA touched up the picture. Well, in some cases they have. Sometimes it's an artist rendition. It's not really a picture. But when you can view it and see it for yourself, when you study the constellations like the ancients did and just understand, their formation, their this, their that, da, 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 then you will understand that there isn't a box to think out of. You will expand your energies. The shamans who knew, they expanded even further. They knew by the stars and through tradition. And shamans in North America, South, Canada, Russia, shamans, people who still, well, let me put it more like this. People who thought beyond the circle of the fire. And this is what I mean. In the old days when they didn't have electric lights and, folks would gather around a campfire and then they'd go to their tents. Why? Nobody had their own fire. It was hard enough just to keep one fire going. So that's where stories were told. That's where the end of the day and people discussed business and they told the stories. And it's like, so you're sitting outside mostly in the olden days, and folks are ruminating on things. Now, what did the shaman do? The shaman just kept on thinking. He didn't say, well, that's it for the night. I'm going to go to bed. I'm not going to, okay. The shaman type person still wanted to understand more. I see that universe out there. I see it, each night the stars are in just a slightly different place. They move across the sky, but more slowly than the sun does. Now, why is that? And I'm, for several years now, when I get up in the mornings, the sun comes up over here by this mountain. And then as the year goes on and it gets hotter, the sun comes up over by this mountain. And in wintertime, the sun comes back up over that mountain again. Oh, well, that's observation. And these people had nothing better to do but to observe their surroundings. They were in tuned to where most people today can't even fathom what just the normal guy could understand and what his awareness level was, because he didn't have any distractions. He stayed and remained more of a part of the one. And again, we are still all part of this one. But the shaman said there's something even more than we're discussing around this fire. So my comment about that the shamans walked out of the light of the fire into the darkness, not that they were walking into evil. Campfire, if you've ever been outside at the campfire, the light only goes so far. And then there's a point where when you walk away from the fire, you disappear. If you're sitting at the fire watching someone walk away, there is a point where the light simply doesn't go any further and that person disappears into the darkness. Now, does that mean that there's evil out there? Well, in the olden days, there are bears and, coyotes. And, I mean, they're still out there, but not like the numbers they had back then. So, yeah, you could walk away from the fire and get snatched up by a bear. It could still happen, but not like it did back in the old days. So my point is, yeah, there were dangers out there. But at the same point, it was also beyond the light of their reality. They were protected by the light of the fire from their campfire. But when you walked out of that campfire and into the darkness, without the light of the campfire, even though it wasn't really bright, but you stepped into a different realm. Now I say this because for some reason I've always been a night owl. And I still, middle of the night, I'm outside walking around in the dark. And there's something about being in the dark that's not evil or whatever. It's quiet. There is a stillness. But at the same time, there is a stillness. If you allow yourself to be aware and open up, like meditate with a tree, that expands your awareness of things. I allow my aura to expand. because there's nothing to interfere with it. And there's no cars honking and people awake and phones ringing and it's quiet. So, and it's safe to allow the energy to expand. And so the shaman expanded his energy, much as I just described, to expand out into the darkness to see if he could understand more. And with that came visions. With that, they, did peyote, mescaline. Here in the East, they magic mushrooms. Well, there's mushrooms in Mexico, different types and things. But at some point, I don't think someone ate a mushroom and got high off of it. And they all went, that mushroom right there, don't put it in a stew, trial by error. But they understood. Someone said, well, mate, what happens if I just take a part of that mushroom? What if I make a tea with it? What if I, so literally over the millennium, folks use natural things, because when your awareness is aware of the source energy, the one, we have to drop our physical selves off of this body. And I'm in a lot of chat rooms hanging out. Sometimes I say hi and sometimes I don't, because I want to see what everybody's talking about, and I might put a one-liner in there. I'm probably renowned for some of my one-liners, but I do that because it's like, okay, while you all are having this train of thought, Spirit's saying, what about this? Just toss it into the mix, not to go into a big explanation or something. One-liner. What about this? Have you thought about that? What about this in the mix? That's my input. It's not to give necessarily my opinion. It's to put a thought in someone else's brain to say, because folks are still trying to think out of the box when they should burn the box. There should be no box to think out of. And people will, well, yeah, but that's thinking out of the box. Well, see, you still have to use a physical reference to explain what you mean. And I'm here to say that is the reality boundary with a lot of scientists and people right now, because they keep using the frame thinking out of the box. So there must be a box that they must think out of. And that's the point. They feel they're in a box that's contained that they must think beyond. And if you just simply think beyond and don't even picture a box in the picture, then you're starting to grasp the greater reality. Now you're really becoming in tune with the one, which is all of us. I have hidden information. Now it came back around a channel that I've watched for years. And it was interesting that almost literally 2 years ago, there was the video that this gentleman put out, and it was entitled Alter Ego. And that those of us who are crazy, those of us who have sought, psychological or ended up, getting caught in the psychiatric mess. I never really wanted to take a pill. I just wanted to figure out what was wrong and why I was having these weird feelings that no one could explain to me. And I had to go into a different realm to understand. They had to frickin' kill me in order for me to see it from the other side. But, shame on us. We don't have to do that, Jesus didn't kill people to show them how to, that there was something beyond death. No, he used his own death and his resurrection to show people, look, this can be done here. All right. So it's like, okie dokie then. So with this reality that I discuss, it's the ether, it's etherical, it's the source energy. And people want to say, well, there's one being. Well, it's a giant cosmic consciousness being. It's a bunch of folks going, is this right or is that wrong? Should we do this or should we not do this? It is a giant consciousness that if you got to say it's the source, it is the creator, but they're not a god. Creators made gods that came to Earth and created Earth, sent a god over here to this planet or another galaxy or solar system, you know? But to the point, though, we have to understand that we are part of this quantum. We are the one. We are a part of the one thought. Now, I still have my own personal thought. I still can do whatever I well please. I still have free will. But in order for me to go back into my spirit body, back just simply being my soul, when I pass from this reality, it's all about frequencies. And in quantum, in the quanta, it is about vibrational frequencies. So these things are very important and we should pay attention. It will allow us to understand who you and I are on a singularity realization that we are part of the quantum. We are in it. We are of it. We are one with the source always. Do we need proof? Ask for it. Believe it, because that was part of my issue that I had several years ago. I believed 99%, but there was a little bit of doubt in there. I'm like, wow, it could be true or not. You got to go for it. And it doesn't mean that you got to pray or bow down or do any kind of ceremony. You just must simply accept it. It's there always for each one of us to tie into. Now, I hope that helps to understand what the one is. It's a hive mind in that we are all connected in this in real time at all times. Some of us have our radio stations tuned, so it's like listening to a police scanner, okay? It's on in the background, and here, breaker, breaker, blah, blah, blah. Okay, they stopped the car for running a red light or something, but then you hear this, blah, 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 and you hear the code, and then there's an accident. Oh my God, such and such, So being aware of the consciousness of the quantum, of the etheric plane, of the source, of the oneness of each one of us, we can turn on the police scanner and listen to what's going on. If something's appropriate for us, we get a download. And if it's not appropriate, it's just for somebody else, somewhere else. So, but you say, well, I live in Colquitt County, Georgia. Okay, okie dokie, fine. So the police scanner is for the Colquitt County Sheriff's Department or whatever, and local law enforcement. But this isn't thousands of people or whatever. It's a group of sheriffs and deputy sheriffs. And they've done a very good job over the years down here. And the complaints I've had, I'm like, well, I shuck them over to the side. But anyway, to the point though, you listening to the police scanner is only one county, and there, we got the whole planet. Okay, so this planet is but one police scanner, if you will. And there are other universes, other planets, other timelines, and they all have their own police scanner, if you will, tuned into that vibrational planet, place, whatever. So when we move into this fourth dimension, as is this transitional basics that I've been talking about, we need to be in the kiddie pool. We need to understand how to operate these scanners, because those of us who believe it now are starting to understand there is this, it's out there all the time. Some of us, I got to say, your interpretation of some of this is a little strange. Now, since we're talking about the one, and we're talking about this consciousness, and I'm talking about the quantum, let me say something a little bit here towards the 45-minute mark on this video. And blessings, Melanie. I see you popped in here while I was trying to focus on not being distracted. That I just distracted myself. How about that? I hope you're doing well. Um, there are folks out there who are trying to, I don't know, I want to say put a false spin on the quantum. And it's like, well, you're there, but and your energies and this and that and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. Well, what they're trying to do to the rest of the world is to shut off or block what most folks are calling the sheeple from hearing the source energy. And I agree. I mean, I had a video about it yesterday, that these electronic devices and the lights and the flashes and all these things that are going on are blocking people from picking up the true source energy and from picking up, whether you want to call it ET or listen, there are billions of different folks out there. And when you learn how to fine tune your cosmic scanner of different entities or races or whatever, it's amazing what you can do. Oh, that's what I was going to say. I wish to put in this thing about remote viewing, especially people who try to remote view the past or even future events. Now, here's the thing. When someone is remote viewing, and I respect these people, some of these folks do some really good work, but I have to be the grown-up in the room here and say, these people are remote viewing the consciousness. And what if there are a bunch of people? Here's I'm just going to pick Antarctica. All of us who are tuned in, who have heard about Antarctica, and it's like, something's going on down there. Why did, Krill and, Biden, and why did all these people go, or not Biden, but anyway, why did all these, Buzz Aldrin, why did all these people go to the Antarctic? When I was growing up, it was the Antarctic. I don't know where they threw the A in at, a Mandela thing, but okay. But to the point. So we all have a certain consciousness that there's something going on down there. The suggestion is maybe giants, maybe huge spacecrafts, maybe ancient civilizations, maybe something even beyond all that. So when someone wants to remote view the Antarctic, I'm being a butthole about that. Anyway, I'm just having a little bit of fun today, but seriously. So they're remote viewing this place through the consciousness of the planet. So their vision can be tainted by the consciousness of the rest of us. Because my consciousness of what's in the Antarctic, okay, I'll stop. Maybe so. When someone remote views, they're moving into that realm of the quantum. And there's all kind of source information there. And I don't necessarily mean from the prime creator source, but I'm talking about from us. We're all source information for the quantum. Our consciousnesses, whether we believe it or not, are tied into this. Our subconscious is there. So when they're talking about the quantum computer, they're actually tying into yours and mine's thoughts without our permission, by the way. Because we are, as beings on this planet, we are part of the quantum, period. And so, are they tapping into a little bit of our fuzziness? That because we're simply because we are and that we exist, we are part of this. So are they tampering with our thoughts through the quantum? Could be. But to remote viewers, I say this. You're tapping into the quantum consciousness, which includes me and you and the next guy and the next guy. So how do you know that your information is so dadgum accurate? Well, we all remote you to say we got these hit points. Not saying you didn't. My point is you were accessing it through the quantum, which we are all a part of, and our thoughts and our energies are involved in this quantum because of what the quantum is. We are interacting. We have no choice. Even when we die in this body, we're still a part of it. We're not ever going to get out of the quantum realm because it is a vital part of the source energy. God's spark, name it what you will. I'm just going to stick with the quantum and stay away from any kind of religious context to it. But it is spiritual nonetheless. And that's why some of these scientists are having issues, because it requires you to think beyond a religion. You need to think beyond any kind of dogma at all. You have to drop all the dogma in order to completely understand the quantum and the source energy. Yes, you can use it along your spiritual way, but if you're clinging to it, you're not going to understand. It's not because I'm condemning you. It's just you must drop the dogma. There can't be a box to think out of, because that's the point. The dogma confines your thinking so that you got to think outside of it. You know, it's a horrible loop. But the thing is these people who are remote viewing, and I've seen some things, I've done remote viewing, I've had visions, I've discussed them. And one of my dreams is still coming true. The volcanoes and that's for another discussion. But to the point, though, it's that it did not exactly happen the way the dream happened or the vision. Why? Because it was 5-6 years ago, and timelines have changed. Things have happened in this timeline of ours that changed a certain parameter. Was it as bad as it was? No, but we still had earthquakes. The volcano still erupted. I still saw that, still came true. And unfortunately, hearing people being burned alive is just not my idea of having a fun time in a dream state. You know what I'm saying? And so there's a lot of pain and agony in that's going on in this world, and it must be done in order. And it's not particularly picking on any person. It's that this is the evolution of things. It's the nasty people that brought these idiotic vibrations into this planet and are creating the chaos. You see, me as an individual, I've been a hermit type all my life. I like it out here in the country. Doesn't mean I don't like to have company and sit around and have a good time, but, and people say, well, you're a loner. No, I like living in the country. There's a difference. If I was a loner, I would be in the deep woods somewhere up in the Rockies or something, but to the point, or deeper in the swamp. But the thing is that, I'm still a part of this quantum element. It doesn't matter where I go. I'm still going to be attached. I'm still going to have this awareness. Now, with the people on the planet, people who are trying to do remote viewing, and, they have to, I don't think that they're accepting the fact that they must understand that their viewing can very well be affected simply because we're on the planet, and they're tying into the record. They're remote viewing an area, but how are they seeing it? If they don't know what it looks like, somehow, somewhere, they are accessing someone who has seen it. It could have been 2 centuries ago, and then somebody that took a picture, maybe in their brain, just a couple of days ago. So are they actually going there? And if so, they have to go through this muddied up waters to get to the viewing. And they must accept the fact because of my own experience, and I get this, they must accept the fact that there are other factors in the universe that could be screwing with what they're seeing. They could be accurately seeing the consciousness of the rest of us and what we wish it to see, what our consciousness is seeing. What about the Grand Canyon? Well, if you believe that the Colorado River did that, sorry, been out there, seen it, ain't no way the one river would do that. And I say this because the rest of the deserts would be all cut up like that if it were rivers. And it's been suggested that parts of that out there were actually on the bottom of the ocean at one time. So how could the river do it? But anyway, but they still wish us to believe that it was the Colorado River that made this 1.5 mile deep canyon. No, you know, but to the point, folks are like, they're remote viewing the Grand Canyon, but they're seeing it through the eyes of the collective. They have to accept it. And I'm not saying that they can't actually see something, not where I'm headed with this. I'm saying that because of the tool they're using to see with, there's fog in there and they got to go through it. And they could be very well with, and unbeknownst to the whole cast and crew of this stuff, do you understand that you could be affected by this? Oh, well, no, we remote viewed. Well, that's because somebody gave you a target. If you don't have a target, do you know where to remote view? And I'm not trying to be a butthole about this. I'm trying to be the grown-up in the room. I have remote viewed. I have seen things. I get this. But when I try to do what they target, I'm like, I'm way off in left field somewhere. I'm nowhere near. Okay, I'm a lousy seer. But then again, there are things that I perceive that it gets nailed. I told friends the other day, I said, we've had a lot of activity on the West Coast. That energy hasn't traveled across the east enough. Well, guess what? They had another series of small earthquakes around the New Madrid Fault Zone, Ridgely, Tennessee, and was it Pine Bluff? No, Blytheville, I think, in Arkansas had earthquakes today. Also in Maryville, Tennessee. I told the folks along the Appalachian, I said, from northern Georgia around Dalton and up through there, the energy is going to transfer. They had a 3.2 around Marysville yesterday, in the Appalachian chain. I can feel things. I can see things. I take in scientific information and I put this together. Well, was I accurate? I didn't pinpoint the day or where, but I did give a general area. I said, you guys in this area, and that's about a couple. It was within 100 miles of where my thought pattern was. Now, am I tuning into the Earth's consciousness to be able to pick up this stuff? And I'm using scientific, and I'm watching Dutch sets once in a while, and I'm looking at the seismographs myself. So I'm taking this information all into consideration, but am I tuning into the Earth? And if she's saying, hey, guess what? These are the areas along here, and I still expect something up towards Maine to go off because the energy still hasn't transferred enough. But anyway, in the Virginias and further north than that, northern New York, I'm seeing somehow. But anyway, to the point though, a lot of us are seeing these things, but still we have to go through. When I go out there to look at something or something's being shown, it still you have to understand that because it's a part of the quantum can affect it. It's there, it's part of it. And I just wish to say that I know that, there's some folks out there that I've ticked off royally because I've tried to be the grown-up in the room. Am I saying that your remote viewing is inaccurate? No, that's not what I'm saying. Am I saying, that all folks who remote view are stupid? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying there is more to this than most people especially who are trying to get into the remote viewing thing. You are given a subjected thought, a target, so that consciousness is already there. And then you're asked to go seek that target, that consciousness that put the trigger, that put the place out there for remote viewers to go to. It was planted in the consciousness of the quantum. How else would you find it? How else would you know that there was a target? It was planted, it was put there. And the people who say that, okay, I have a target for you. And everybody, ooh, good. So basically, what you're doing is you're trying to read his consciousness up to what his target was. Because he put it, or they put it in the quantum. They put it there. So now, what if you put your own target in there? Now that's different. I have been given targets by the source, by creator, by angels, and said, here, go look at this. I went there on my own without a 3D being, excuse me, a little bit of. They have given me a spiritual message to remote view an area, or to do, I may go to Google Earth or something. And I go, oh, well, that's what the terrain looks like. Okay. So when I get there, if I'm going to close my eyes and look at the place, does the village look like what I see in my mind's eye vision? Oh, no, there's great big tall buildings and stuff. Well, I'm not in the right place. Whatever my angel message was, it's like, look for a village and a something or other. Okay. So if I get there and there's no village, but there are great big tall buildings, something's wrong with the communication. Now, a lot of times when I'm in my vision quest, they'll go, you're on the wrong side of the volcano, Dave. Oh, there is a town nearby, but I had missed the spot. And when I saw the spot, then I saw what happened, and it happened 6 hours later. So that's how I do it. That's how it comes to me. Now, I have tried doing the remote viewing of what other people have said, and I have absolutely failed miserably, because I'm like, but wait a minute, you're asking me to do this point. And somehow these other people have tuned in to the consciousness of the person or persons who are putting it out there. Now, I think, and I believe this, that they are very much in tune. They are very much empathic, and they are doing good in the respect that they are extending and expanding their mind. And I'm just a klutz at this, but I've had a lot of success in other areas. That's why I'm trying to be the grown-up in the room and going, there may be a little bit something else here that other people aren't discussing. Am I saying that they're wrong? No. Because the person who put the thought out there, whoever is going to go look for that target area, guess what? They're reading his thoughts or her thoughts or their thoughts or the collective, okay? And if they get the target, guess what? They done good. And they did. That is all positive. But are they actually seeing truly what's there? Because there's interference in the quantum itself, okay? I'm saying these folks need to take an even further step outwards in their thinking. Yes, they're out in the universe and they're doing this, but you're doing it with a closed thought process. You have been taught to do these things. Do you understand other things in the quantum? And I've listened to people do readings and so forth and channeling, and I'm like, all these people are like, ooh, that was what he said. And I'm like, none of that made any sense to me. It's not resonating with me. And I'm not mentioning anybody's name, but I mean, I'm sorry, but none of it, there might have been a word or two, but are they, and my point of this is, because what the quantum energy level plane, whatever, radio station, whatever it is, as I'm having these thoughts and as I'm doing this video, all of this is being uploaded into the quantum so that someone could access it later. Whether they watch this video or not, I'm putting this out into the universe. I am placing this into the quantum realm for other people to think about. The video will be over. It'll just be a recording unless somebody hits play. But because I am verbalizing this and stating it, it is being recorded into the quantum. So what's to say, and I've talked about this, I started talking about transition. Everybody else still wants to use ascension. And then all of a sudden, certain channels and places, all of a sudden the word transition starts popping up everywhere. Now, is it because they picked up on the same, quantum signal that I did? Or did they watch my video? I seriously doubt that. And I'm being realistic. I seriously doubt they watched my video. But to the point, though, is that was my video and what I spoke of, because it's now in the quantum, did they pick it up out there? I'm indirectly responsible, as are other people, because I picked this up from other people as well. So we're just kind of tailgating each other, right? But to the point, though, it's in the quantum. It's out there. So these remote viewers, are they remote viewing actually the place, or are they remote viewing thoughts of others who've been to that place or whatever? It must be considered. And these people want to go, oh, you pissed me off. Oh, you don't believe. I do believe. I do believe you guys are doing accurate cases. I do believe that the people who are given targets are finding the targets because they were placed there. And in order for them to tune in their energies, and yes, it's a very good thing, but the information they're bringing back from the target, I'm suggesting, is also quantum entangled. There are other things in what they've seen because other beings have been there. There is just more in that. So the accuracy of what they are perceiving, because it is a perception, unless someone says, okay, I'm going to give you this remote view and it's a tower and this is just a test. Did you all see what the test was? Sure. Everybody got it with a little detail around it. That's accurate. But if someone's saying, okay, we're going to remote view Abraham Lincoln, bullshit. Because there's too much confusion in the quantum. There have been so many different timeline shifts that you don't really know if you're looking at the timeline we're on and our past, or are you on the timeline where Lincoln was truly shot, and has that not changed? Well, just in the last few years, our timelines have been all screwed up, jumped up, backwards. I mean, literally, it feels like time's running backwards here. So for people to just, oh, well, that's accurate. Well, he's, that's such and such and such and such. And he's done all these tests correctly. I agree with that. All of the tests that you have done, all the targets you have been given, you have gotten them 80, 90%. Bravo. And I mean that with honest respect. It's hard to do. But you were given the target, is my point. That's the point. Someone put the target there, and all you had to do was follow that consciousness when you get into the quantum to find the target. Now, who was there to do the target with Lincoln? There's so much in somebody wrote down a story. I mean, those of us who are awake, do we believe the New York Times or the Post or the Washington Post? If you didn't live in this era, but in 10 or 15 or 20 years from now, look back and read what was in the newspapers, you're not going to get the correct story, are you? How many of us have gotten the real story since 1963 when Kennedy got shot? Everything's been a flipping lie. There's been a truth here or there. But in the last 20 years, especially since 9/11, lie, Waco. I watched Waco burn that day and cried. It was my brother's birthday. He's like, oh my God, every time I have a birthday, I'm going to have to think of Waco. And all those people were murdered. They didn't have to set that place on fire, and they did. They killed one or two of their own over that to cover it up. Conspiracy. Stop it. It was a bunch of lies. They could have moved out of there. The FBI didn't have to take it. They were pissed off and they were being macho gung-ho folks. And they took out all those children, women and children. I wouldn't have gave up either. And probably would have died in the compound with them, simply because I'd have been scared. If I walk out here, they're going to murder us all. They're going to kill us all. And basically, that's what they wanted to do, and they did. So that's in the quantum realm out there. So people want to remote view something. Well, if you did not see it yourself, and then 20 years in the future, people look back and go, well, Trump didn't do anything. Clinton, he stole the election from Hillary Clinton. Clinton should have been the president, and all these other things that happened. Oh my God, well, guess what? That election changed our timelines, because what they thought was going to happen ain't happening. Some of the things that I was shown was on the timeline of Hillary. And if Hillary had been the president, oh my God, the rest of some of these things that I had seen 4 or 5 years ago would absolutely be true. But the timelines have changed. Time for a new remote viewing, because the quantum has changed. Our reality has changed. So people who wish to view the past, and my point is they're convinced that they are so accurate with what they see. And I'm like, hey, it's one thing to say, well, whatever happened in there, isn't that interesting? But they get upset when you want to question, well, I don't know, that didn't ring true with me. You are a hater. No, I'm an empath too, and I don't get this, people. I'm sorry, I've listened to you. I'm trying to listen to you. I'm trying to understand. But I'm getting messages that saying that's just a bunch of crap, Dave. Where are they getting it? Oh, they're remote viewing a thing, and they're channeling the energy that's already there. They're going back into the history books, if you will, and picking up these energies in order to formulate these things. It's what it is. It's how we get there. But for people to get upset, but I'm 100% accurate. I was accurate because they gave me that target, so I must be accurate with this. Not the same thing. That's my point. They don't even wish to discuss that there could be another point of view in this. Yes, I think you're accurate when you're given a target, but no, I don't think you're accurate because you haven't been given a specific target by someone in the past to the past. There's confusion there, and that's my point. Stop wearing it on your shoulders as that it is God's gospel truth. You went there, saw it, tell it like it is. This is what I saw. Not sure what it means. Take it for what it is. But no, they want to try to shove it down my throat and tell me you must believe it because I've been accurate in these other accounts. So have I. But that doesn't mean that what you're viewing now in a particular instance is the truth. You've got to go through this muddy quantum universe to get that information. And you have to have the person in this reality said, go to 1850, 65, be in the Ford Theater and blah, 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 blah. There's been so many stories and so many movies and things. The collective consciousness in the planet has got it in the quantum. So you could actually be going to view one of the movies that many of us have watched about how, Lincoln was shot and assassinated and so forth. How do you know you actually got there, or that you simply got to the target of the thought? You got to be the grown-up in the room and say, it's more complicated than the way you're just putting it off to people. Yes, you're very talented, and yes, you get your targets correct. But let's discuss this other. Timelines are moving, timelines are changing, and what I view right now could literally change in an instant later. Do you understand that? To these folks who are doing the remote viewing, do you understand that's how tricky this quantum is? Do you fully understand, or are you simply thinking out of the box? Now, this is not in condemnation, but this is a reality that people must observe. You got to. If you go swimming in the oceans, you might not get eaten by a shark, but our sharks live in the ocean. Period. That's all you got to know and be aware. All right. And from down there, you look like a seal swimming, and yum yum. So, but to the point though, um, the quantum and the universe is a huge ocean of stuff. There's all kinds of things out there. I mean, they're still pulling stuff out of the ocean they'd never seen before, and there are things down there that mankind may never actually see with their own two eyes. But to the point, for folks to just absolutely get up on their bandwagon and curse the rest of us because we may doubt what they are seeing. Will I take it into consideration? Yes, absolutely. Will I listen? Yes, absolutely. But if you're trying to make me believe that it's 100% accurate every time you do that, then I must say, I'm sorry. No, I can't. I'm sorry. I'll listen to the story and I'll take your consideration and I will bring that into my reality and see if any of it fits. And I'm sorry to say that when I meditate on some of this stuff that has, none of it sticks. I can listen to this person or that person or, somebody I've never met or heard before, like on Milky Way Weekly's channel or something. And I'm like, well, I've never heard this person before. What they got to say? They have more to say and understanding sometimes than these folks who are always correct as they wish to put themselves. And they want the rest of us to believe that that's, I'm sorry, but you must understand more than you do. Same thing with the physicist people that are trying to explain the Planet X and all this other stuff. Now they came out yesterday, Fox News. Oh, some kind of star is affecting the thingy. Oh my God, here we go. Some more with the Planet X stuff. Because they refuse to look at the data, I've already stated in a previous video. But to the point that I'm sorry, I believe that there's a Planet X, but I don't believe it's having the effects that it's having. Well, then, who are you? Well, I'm on my own little place over here, I'm in my own reality. I've done my own homework and done my own study. I'm not going to criticize these other people and call them out because that's what they believe. That's what they see. They're seeing it with the science that they're using. And they must explain the paradigm within the science they have. And I'm still suggesting and will continue to suggest there is a greater science out there that these folks are not tapped into. Now, I'm not sure of it either. Don't get me wrong. I ain't got the answer. I'm just saying there's more to it. And I understand that there's more to it because every time I try to use their explanations, I ain't working here. So you must look at it from a quantum viewpoint and from more than just your little tiny perspective on the planet. That's why when I make my observations of the sky, I tell people, go outside, look at the sky from where you are. It is a matter of perspective. And that's why I also say I always use the same point of reference so that my observations will be true. I'm pretty much done with this. I just wanted to put this out there. It is for discussion, of course. But if there's some lovely people doing this remote viewing stuff. And like I say, when they're given a target, they can answer it. And that's good. But I'm also saying there's more to the picture than even they're realizing. And that somehow some of their thought patterns have been sideswiped because they, well, if you don't believe me, then, hang on. Please don't get so defensive. Please, pretty please. I'm asking you because I'm just simply asking a question. But they get their whitey tidies in a bunch so quick. It's like, wait a minute. Somebody questions something. I go, well, okay. Maybe there's another way I can explain it. Maybe you and I can have a discussion. Maybe I've touched on something you haven't quite really delved into and have taken the time to go out there and consider. And if you've never, I say this to folks with utter respect, but if you have never sat down and meditated with a tree and allowed your essence to become one with the tree, then you're missing out. And you're not, and I'm not trying to be rude with you, but then you have no idea where I'm coming from because it's beyond the box. There is no box. It's beyond most people's even comprehension or reality. It's there. You can do it. You must allow yourself to do it. You must give up this physical being and allow yourself to meld with a tree and do these types of meditations. And then when you do, a new reality clicks in you and you go, oh crap, these people are not just wrong, they're dead wrong. That would be your opinion because you're going to look at these things from a different point of view. And unless you have accepted this type of meditation and understanding of the nature of things, which the quantum is a natural phenomenon, but you must give up all of this other stuff to get there, to understand it. The learning is unlearning. I did a thing, about the guy who's like, he goes to Jesus and he's, look, I've done all the 10 commandments. How am I assured a ticket into heaven? And Jesus looked at him and he said, you got to sell your house and all your belongings and come follow me. And the guy went away pissed off. Okay. Because he had many possessions. Well, but he was kind to people and this and that. But the thing is, he was a hoarder. He was hoarding his wealth. If he had all that stuff and he didn't really need it, unless he had a huge house and he let all of the homeless people come in and stay and live, unless he used his storehouses to feed all the poor, you know what I'm saying? But to the point though, it's like until you are willing to drop all of, quote, your worldly possessions, which is the learning that you have been taught through society and through your life and through religion, you must break through that bond. Burn the box so that you don't have to think out of it because there are no constraints. And you must understand that there are no constraints in the thought process and in the quantum reality. There are no constraints. Now, there are rules and things and stuff. You're not supposed to be eavesdropping in on other people's, mental thoughts and conversations. That's why we end up in the kiddie pool when we go into the 4D training, serious training. Now, there are many of us who are I feel like I'm in the kiddie pool already because I understand these certain basic things already. And many people are still having issues with this. They're still going to like, well, Dave, I don't know. You just pissed off every single, remote viewer, and it's like, but do they understand this about the quantum? People think that there's nothing in space. Hogwash, there are things on the quantum realm, that they're going out there playing and stuff. They really don't have a clue, well, this is true. Your experiment was true. That is true. But when your experiment to a past or a something or whatever is like, I have to just stand up and go, sorry, I'm not that it ain't fitting what I have been seen, shown, or whatever, or feel about the situation. And now I don't go into these chat rooms and call these people liars. I don't get in their face. I just look at it and go, okay, I see. They're in the quantum. They're accessing memories. They're accessing information. They're going out there. But every single one of us on this planet, before and after, actually are already in the quantum. It's already there. So you're accessing information in this huge library to pinpoint a spot. And so you've got different writers who've written different books on the same subject. So now all these same subjects about Mark Twain or or Lincoln or whatever, all of these things. So all of the information, all those books and all, you have to go through it all. But what if the information is incorrect? What if the information was invalid? Just like, if you still believe that two planes brought down those two towers, you're not thinking in the same realm as I am. No, I don't know who did it. That's not the point. The single point is two airplanes could not have done that. Something else occurred, period. And let's just leave it at that. But you have to be able to understand in a larger reality that something else could have happened. If you say, no, planes did it, that's it, then sorry, you're not even allowed near the kiddie pool yet. You're gonna have to sit in the grass and play with the water hose, or whatever. But to the point, though, there are certain realities that must be reached, and some of these people are accessing a reality in other timelines that is not what we are currently on. And I'm simply asking and saying, understand this. It's beyond what anyone's talking about, but it must be talked about because of what the quantum is. Are we all a hive mind? Only in that we all have a mind and we can connect with each other. Is it a hive? Not in the traditional sense. Can we all get turned on in the quantum and have conversations? Sure we can. Can we speak to other beings 14 galaxies away? Absolutely. If we understand that we can, and if we know who the entity is, absolutely. How can these ships, how can these alien ships, if they exist, transmit? They are transmitting on the quantum. You can literally travel on the quantum. So if I want to go to Jupiter, I think Jupiter, a particular place, and with the right amount of energy and forethought, I'm on Jupiter, literally not viewing it or whatever. I mean, I go there, and that's what we can learn. And that's what's important. But there are other realities these folks simply aren't considering because they haven't realized them yet. So please understand, I'm not trying to beat anyone up. But if you don't have all the information, but you're trying to force other people into believing it, I'm simply saying, please accept there's more to this than even you are understanding right now. Blessings to you all. I hope you will, I'm putting this out to the quantum that maybe some of these people will pick up on and go, you know what? I did a reading about such and such, and I just realized I read that in a book, or it was in a movie, or I'm using, oh my God, oh. Just saying. Why? Because it's already there. It is existing right now as I speak. It's there. So as I speak this, it's already being recorded. It's already out there in the quantum. So other folks can get muddled through with my little video comment. But to the point, though, I wish everyone to understand this greater thing. That's all. Am I condemning them? Only in the fact that they're still being too nearsighted. And all of their far-sighted viewings, they're still being too close-minded because they haven't learned that there is a greater science than even their abilities are being able to comprehend at this point. They're working on it. They're practicing. They're working in the quantum, and that all is good, positive things. But they should not be trying to cram it down our throat that we are correct all the time, and that's wrong. And some of these people get their panties in a wad really quickly when they shouldn't. They should just say, okay, I went out there, been there. Now there are things that I've talked about myself, and I have been in these places, and I have, but then there are the times when I speak about in the spirit world, this is what I saw, this is what I felt. Can I prove it? No, but it was God dog real to me, and this is my interpretation of it. It felt real to me. It seems real. The more that I meditate on these particular things, like the great Mandela and the wheel of life, and how all things are connected on the quantum, in the quantum of, and that we are all connected as the one, the source of all things, and we're all a part of it. It's just what we choose to accept or reject. I hope that helps. I love you all. I do. You humble me with your questions. You humble me with the fact that even I have to question some of my own thoughts and things to make sure that it's like, do I really understand this? Do I get it? Have we had this discussion before? Well, we've had it now. And so that's just it. If I've offended anyone, I'm sorry. It was not the intent, but there are a lot of people who can't take a critique, as in a director and an actor. If you're going to be a good actor, then you got to take critiques. You have to be able to take criticism and say, you could have, why not try this over here? Or have you ever considered that? Or, So in that respect, I'm simply saying, are you aware of these other things, folks, who are doing all these remote viewings and trying to get the rest of us into believing that everything you say and do is 100% correct? That's all. That's all. Quit bragging so much. Get your ego off your shoulders. I send love and honor to each one of you all, because we are all in this together as the one. Melanie, what you got? Remote viewing mainly gives me a dark feeling. Melanie, me too, especially when I try to follow some of her instructions on some of these things. And I really try. And it's like, I actually get into some weirdness, if you really want to know the truth. So it's like, it really kind of gets creepy. And Melanie, you're a gem as well. And thank you all for hanging out. So I'm going to end this with my normal prayer. I pray that each one of you will accept and receive the blessings from the universe. You will accept and receive the healing and the knowledge and all of this understanding of the one and of the collective. And I send you honor and blessings to every one of you, whether you agree with me or not. That's not the point. The point is we have to think beyond what we've been taught to think. That's all. So much love to you all. Have a safe Friday evening. Be safe out there. Have a great weekend. And QQ asked me this question. And so this was really off the cuff. And I got butt cramps again. So I'm out of here for coffee and butt cramps. So much love to you all. Be safe and continue to be kind to everybody. Bye-bye for now. Bye, Melanie.